let's call this meeting to order, which is being held virtually. The invocation, if you bow your heads. Dear God, please bless our elected officials, grant them the wisdom to know and the courage to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Roll call. We will forego. Everybody is online right now, John?
Yes.
Everybody is here. Approval of minutes. Motion be in order to approve the minutes of the April 18th City Council meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion does pass. Do we have any audience comments, John?
I have unmuted everyone. I have asked the applicants on some of the items to speak during the item once I've done introduced it, but if anyone would like to speak now on any agenda or non-agenda item, now would be the time to speak. I don't see any comments and I don't see any chat.
Okay, we will move on. Adoption of agenda. Any changes, John?
No changes.
City Council, any changes?
Nope.
A motion to accept the agenda as presented would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I believe that was all ayes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion does pass. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. There is no discussion on the consent agenda motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We move on to items for consideration, which we have 5 this evening. The first one being consideration of banner request, project graduation. Mr. City Manager?
Council is scheduled to consider approving a request from the Richmond Project Graduation Committee to utilize the banner arms on our light poles from Park Street to Heritage Drive. Due to the COVID-19, there's a lot of changes going on this year, a lot of events that have had to be canceled, including the project graduation party and I believe the graduation ceremony itself. So the Project Graduation Committee has sent us an email requesting the use of our light poles. I've met with Brett Hardy and spoken to Susie Christensen and have gone over the size of our banner arms, what they would need as far as the items they'd need to provide for us, for our DPW to be able to put up the banners. So I'm comfortable that they're able to do that. They've made a request to have them up from May 18th through June 12th. So I believe that's roughly a month, with approximately 123 graduating seniors. If they do them back to back on each pole, that'll be roughly 62 poles that would be utilized. And if we start at the Park Street intersection, as I mentioned, they would be on every pole that we have banner arms down to, there's a set just north of Heritage Drive. The nice thing about using those poles is that they will all be within an area of town that has sidewalk. People can drive along and look at them, or they can walk along and look at them both. The one request that I had, just because for traffic safety and safety with climbing up on the poles and stuff, is that our DPW do the installation, putting them up and taking them down. It'd just be safer for everyone involved if this request is approved, that the DPW do the installation. That's all I have. I believe there's a couple people on that are unmuted now. If there's anything I missed, Susie or Brett, if you're on the line.
Hi, my name is Susie Christensen. I'm the parent of a senior at Richmond High School. I think John pretty much covered everything. He's been such a great help to us. This is all new to us. So we're just thankful for anything the city can do. We are compliant with anything that you say we have to do. We are looking to get donations from hopefully the school and organizations in town. So yeah, we're just helpful, and any questions anybody has, you can call me, email me, ask me, and we're just thankful to do anything for these kids, who don't get to have a lot that we know of so far,
Mm.
One of the questions, Susie, would be, are you going to be ready for May 18th?
Yeah, Brett said I think we're gonna start if we get their approval tonight, emailing all the parents. We kind of gave them we might be able to do this, who's interested. So Brett says as long as the pictures start coming in, he can start making them soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is Brett here. If it'd be easier, I don't know if you probably want to do all the banners in one day, but there's always going to be those parents that drag and don't get me the pictures on time. So I can actually do partial orders with my company, and I can maybe get you like 80, or not 80, the 50, 60 at a time, if it'd be easier. And then maybe that would get the other parents to get, well, where's my kid? Well, you didn't send me a picture. Give me a picture, we'll get you a banner. So, if it's easier for you to maybe do it over 2 days versus one, that's an option too.
I can take that if you want. It's certainly easier for us if you have them all done at once, but that doesn't mean that down the road, if we need to work with you, if you have a couple that come straggling in, that we can't take care of those as well.
Okay.
What I was concerned with, John, was the duration that we're talking about. If they don't get here on May 18th to put up, and we're putting a
Sure.
end date on it, maybe the end date, if they don't get to us soon enough to meet the May 18th, maybe council would want to, extend the date on the end. So that's something we can talk about when we get.
Absolutely, yeah. We're administration's willing to work with council and Project Graduation on this is all new for us all the way around. So if we need to come back to council, or just make sure that at a future council meeting, hey, I can give a progress update. And if it looks like we need to extend the date, or if you want to just kind of leave it open, we'll work with you.
Okay.
Or work with them.
Is there any other questions?
I have a question. First off, this is a great idea, especially, what a tough transitional time in these kids' lives already, and then not to be able to finish their school year and have graduation. My question is, will there be a banner for all students, no matter whether their parents can afford to pay for a banner or not? And if for some reason there isn't a photograph to get from them, are you able to utilize anything that was in the yearbook to get that photograph from?
Okay, so let me talk. Okay, I don't want to jump in. So Brett quoted us a price of $35. So Project Graduation is kicking in $10 for everyone, so it's $25. And then so we are going to put it out to the parents. I think we had like a response of at least 80 of 123 that wanted to do it. There are some parents that don't even want it at all. And then there are some parents that want to sponsor kids that don't have the money for it. So we have at least 6 to 12 that want to do that too. So yeah, we're going to hopefully cover every base. I have a list of all of the kids from the school district. So, and because of Project Graduation, we pretty much reach out to everybody. So hopefully we cover everybody. Like everyone gets assigned.
Well, and I can understand some parents may not want their kid up showing in town, but I would just be concerned that if they're not financially, that it's able to afford it, that they're at a disadvantage that they couldn't have the opportunity to be up.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We absolutely will cover them. Yep.
Okay.
We have parents that at least 12 or more. And then I think even Project Graduation, because we have all this money saved and we don't think we're going to be able to have that party anyways, so.
Right.
So make sure everybody who wants one can get one,
Any other questions? Thank you, Susie.
Yes, thank you.
Goodbye.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to utilize the poles and banner arms from Park Street to Heritage Drive to place banners recognizing the students of the class of 2020 from May 18th until all banners have been placed, and to authorize DPW to install the banners with the following conditions. First, that project graduation committee will furnish the banners and all necessary zip ties. Secondly, there are no guarantee of exact placements of students on a particular pole or location.
Support.
Motion by Emily, seconded by Rob. Any other discussion?
Just one more question. When do we switch to summer banners?
It would be right at the end of this. So our intentions would be once we go to put these up, we'll take our spring banners down, put the student banners up in that location. And then when we take the student banners down, it will be within, like, I believe, a week of summer. So we may put our summer banners up 1 week early.
Okay.
Again, if it gets extended, it might be at the correct time.
Okay. That's what I was just figuring, is that maybe that time can just coincide with that.
Yep. Yeah, it'll limit it down to, we'll just have, I think, one extra time that we have to put banners up versus two, by kind of the second time doing it at the same time as the summer banners.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion, council? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion does pass. Item number 2 is consideration of the second reading and adoption of ordinance 156-26, text amendment to zoning ordinance regulations for mobile food trucks. Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to give second reading and adopt ordinance 156-26, which will amend section 6.706 of the temporary structures and uses in the zoning ordinance to include provisions for the review of mobile food vendors by City Council. As we mentioned, this will make it so that all mobile food vendors will come before council and rather than administration. We've talked about this over the course of a couple of years and several meetings. So last meeting, we did have the introduction and first reading of this ordinance change. It was previously approved by the Planning Commission back in March. So you have a motion to give second reading and adopt this ordinance. And then you also have a second motion to adopt the special event application for mobile food vendors along with the fee.
Thank you. Is there a motion before discussion?
I'll make the motion to give second reading and adopt ordinance 156-26, which will amend section 6.707 of the Richmond zoning ordinance to include provisions for the review of mobile food vendors during special events.
Support.
Motion by Rob, seconded by John. Any discussion? John, has there been any public?
No comments.
Okay. Council, any comments? I missed that last meeting and did get my 2 cents in on the on this, and I'm questioning under G, mobile food vendors. That's highlighted. It says mobile food vendors on private or public property will require City Council approval. And I thought in all of our discussions, it was only those that were selling food. Should we not have that in the ordinance saying mobile food vendors on private or public property that are selling food?
We talked about that. I know that's certainly administration's, that's how we were doing it.
Yeah.
That if they're not, if they're at a graduation party, for example, on a private residential property, they're not a mobile food vendor, they're a caterer.
Right. Okay. So, but as we know, this administration knows that because we've been talking about this for probably 2 years. If somebody was to read our ordinance, it reads that no matter what, if you are a mobile food vendor on private property, you've got to come to the city council and get approval, and that's not our intention.
So would
Correct.
we just change the definition of mobile food vendor? You know how when in certain section it has definitions
yeah.
that we would just define mobile food vendor as somebody selling?
You could just add selling food after public property, where it would say mobile food vendors on private or public property selling food will require Richmond City Council approval.
I agree.
Is that on the application?
Yes.
It
Okay,
is, and
I
I
don't have a copy
apologize.
of
I
that.
just noticed tonight that we didn't put it
Yeah, and I
in the
missed the
application in
last
the packet.
Yeah,
I just noticed that 2 minutes ago, so.
and I noticed it
certainly we
about
can
3
table
minutes
this and bring it back to a future council meeting. If you want to change the ordinance, or you can change the ordinance tonight, I guess. Council's pleasure.
Well, I'm sorry that I had to miss that last meeting. And I'm sorry, when I reread the packet again for tonight, about 15 minutes before I logged on, it popped into my head that we're saying on here. My problem with that has always been, whenever we do these types of things, is that we're expecting people to go wherever the rules and procedures of the city council are for that particular ordinance, instead of just plain English putting it right into the ordinance.
And I guess the only way of doing, you're always going to have to go to the rules unless you put the entire application into the ordinance,
Right.
Yeah,
to some extent.
Can we add that provision here now? Because I know we
You
did talk
certainly
about.
could. You could add it, if that's the only concern, you're still going to have, policies and procedures that are developed by council that won't be listed in the ordinance unless you list them all. But if the main concern is the one regarding,
Selling.
well,
I'm going to
and I guess
rescind. I'm
sitting
going to
here, I
rescind.
could think of an example. You may still want the rec department to pull a mobile food vendor permit for one of their kids programs, even though they're not charging. Or you may want the sponsor of the buck pole, who might pay for all of the food. So it may not be the trigger may not be whether they're paying for food. We may want to add a sentence to this. This says, for private properties on residentially zoned lots, this ordinance is not meant to include private properties on residentially zoned lots. For example, graduation parties.
I remember the form kind of spelling that out, and that's why we said, okay, good, as long as it says.
Yeah, and I apologize it didn't get in here. Yep.
I mean, if we somehow have it in the ordinance, then I think don't even have to worry about that. But you can put it
Here's
down.
my concern. I'm going to, open our ordinance up to see what it says about mobile food vendors. I'm having a graduation party. And it says in here that even though I'm hiring a mobile food vendor for my graduation party or my wedding, and they're not going to be charging the public for food, I'm going to pay him like I would a caterer. This says that I have to go to the city council to get that approval, and that's not our intent.
Oh,
But John brings up a good point that one of our businesses could pay a mobile food vendor, and he could be competing against the restaurant across the street, which is what our big concern has always been.
But technically, wouldn't he be catering no matter what? So whether it was a mobile food vendor or a caterer, would it matter? Because they're considered a caterer then.
but they're not charging individually.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, they're not
They're not
selling the food.
Yeah.
Why don't-
This thing just goes on and on and on.
Well,
we have tried to come up with something.
well, and I think part of it is we don't have the application in front of us tonight. You
Yeah, why
know,
don't-
this spells that out.
But and even still, is it a bad thing to necessarily even have those graduation parties just fill out an application and waive the fee?
Yeah, I don't know that, I don't want to go that far on private property.
No.
Well, I no, and I understand that, but I'm kind of curious to see how many we would actually get.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the ones that we actually get. It's, I mean, it's how many people doing their graduation party will know to look for that in the ordinance. You know,
Okay, and if they violate
that's where
the
I'm kind of
ordinance,
thinking
okay.
back to our original discussions. The second sentence of this ordinance, the approval is subject to policies and procedures developed by the Richmond City Council. Those policies and procedures are that form that you've developed, and on that form, we can clearly point out that graduation party, things like graduation parties are not meant for this ordinance.
Okay.
Right.
Will that be, again, because I don't have it in front of me, is that form going to have a form number on it that we could refer to on our website?
Yeah, I could certainly.
So if they read this, they are going to also read that the form is here online.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
on that form, it would say that if you know, are having a private party and not charging, you don't need to come to city council.
Yes.
That would take
Correct.
care of my concern.
Yep. And I think that's the better way of taking care of it, Mr. Mayor. And what we'll do is we'll make it clear on our website that there's the special event form, which is the event form that people use for, you know, the various events they have. You know, StarCraft just used it for their event. We will then have a right underneath it, special event mobile food vendor.
Yeah, okay.
Application. You'll have them back to back so that people know exactly where they're at.
Okay. I'm good then. Any other discussion?
I just have, should we bring that back just to, I mean, we spent so much time anyway. Another 2 weeks wouldn't really hurt, would it? Just to make sure that it looks, the ordinance looks good and the form looks good to everybody again. I'm fine to go either way. I just wanted to make sure.
I think we just seen it at the last meeting and we talked a little bit more tonight. I think we can move forward and
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay, good. I'm good.
I'm fine with moving ahead.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Item number 3 is consideration of bid award. Did I get ahead of myself?
Yeah, there's another motion on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is another motion on that.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, for the paper I don't have in front of me. Okay, is there a second motion to approve the special event application?
Would it be all right if we discuss the fees before we make that motion?
Yeah.
If council would like to drop our formal rules,
Yes.
give me a consensus.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Would you like to speak to it, Rob?
I just didn't want to put that motion for it. I didn't know if there was some numbers that people had in mind, as far as if we're going to keep in line with fee schedules for other things we do, or if we were, I don't remember if we even talked about a fee, and I'm sure we did in some of our,
We
did discuss
Yeah.
the fees, but we never, I don't remember determining a fee.
Well, and we discussed the fee and it was related to having like a pass or certain, we had that very elaborate. This, in our background brief, it was just $10 per application, which I
Right.
thought was fair.
okay.
And the reason I did 10 is that we're just starting the new fiscal year here in a couple months. We can kind of see after a year. I thought 10 was a pretty fair, it kept everyone honest, so to speak, and paying something, but yet at the same time gave us a year to kind of determine, okay, how many of these are we getting? How long is it taking to process them and get them to council? And next year we can kind of say, yeah, $10 was correct, or maybe we need to bump it up to 20. So I kind of purposely said it, you know, administration kind of had a debate back and forth, 10 or 20. I felt probably let's start with 10 and we can always tweak it in 1 year.
I agree.
As do I.
Is the application refundable? I don't have that sheet in front of me, so is it refundable if they pull out before it gets to city council? Do we talk to that at all?
We don't mention it on the application,
Okay.
no.
All right. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just so
Otherwise-
like with most of our other fees, we have a price per resident or non-resident. Since we're only talking $10, are we really concerned about that?
Mike, my thought was ultimately, as I mentioned in the background brief, the responsibility of getting all these, although each individual mobile food vendor might fill out their portion. For example, Starcraft Brewery would be the applicant, and even though they're not a resident, they are the property owner in the hometown business that might be submitting this. And so it's normally going to come from either a property owner or a nonprofit organization in town, or, you know, even potentially like a city department.
All right, sounds good.
But again, after a year and we see how this works, next year I may have a different recommendation.
Okay, I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the special event application mobile food vendor form and set the fee at $10 per mobile food vendor.
Support.
Motion been made by Jamie, supported by Emily. Any other discussion?
You know what? I just realized when I made that motion, is it per application or per food vendor? Because what if we have the same food vendor that goes?
Per food vendor.
Okay. I'm good with that.
I am too.
Any other discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion does pass. Can I go to number 3 now?
You're already there.
I love these Zoom meetings. Item number 3, consideration of bid award 2020 asphalt repairs contract. Mr. City Manager?
Public Service Director received quotes from several contractors on asphalt patching work this spring, including a couple from contractors doing our road projects. We have the low bidder is Peak Asphalt. Peak has performed much of the city's patching work in recent years with no issues. And Jim Getzinger is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Is there a motion before discussion?
I make a motion to award the 2020 asphalt repairs contract 2020 SR-4 in the amount of $8,860 to Peak Asphalt with the expenses charged to the appropriate line items in major street funds, local street, and water funds.
Support.
Who said support? Sorry.
I did.
Emily?
Yes.
Okay, motion by
Okay,
Jamie,
thanks.
supported by Emily. Any discussion?
Good.
Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion does pass. Item number 4 is consideration of bid award for the 2020 curb repair contract. Mr. City Manager?
Public Service Director solicited quotes for several contractors, or from several contractors for curb patching work around town. The low bidder is Hinojosa, and they are a concrete subcontractor on the Madison Street project this summer, and they have in the past done some of the city's SWIFT programs. You'll notice in the bid tab, there were 2 bidders that were lower. However, they did not bid the removal section, so their bids were not complete.
On that note, John, they just weren't including their flat fee on removal. They will not do
Correct.
removal, correct?
Correct. So
Okay.
we would have to find another contractor to do the removal, so
Right.
their bids were incomplete. Yep, correct.
Is there a motion?
Make the motion to award the 2020 curb repairs contract, 2020 SR-5, in the amount of $17,250 to Hinojosa Construction with expenses charged to appropriate line items within the major street fund.
Support.
Emily?
Yes.
That. Motion by Rob, seconded by Emily. Any discussion? This is spring, summer work, John?
Yeah. If you go around, there's actually, if you can kind of see some places on Main Street. I think there's a section on Main and Mary on the south side. You'll see some pink spray paint marks. Jim marked it up this year, so we anticipate a this year project this spring.
Any other comments, questions? Being not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Item number 5 is consideration of approving the request to conduct the National Day of Prayer. Mr. City Manager?
Council is scheduled to consider a request from the Richmond area pastors to recognize Thursday, May 7th, 2020 as the National Day of Prayer. In previous years, the city has recognized the National Day of Prayer and allowed the Richmond area pastors to publicly pray in front of City Hall. Unfortunately, this year with COVID-19, we will be doing the National Day of Prayer, if approved tonight, as a Zoom meeting. And Pastor Egley has once again reached out to the Richmond area pastors and taken control, control of facilitating this event for them. And he is on the call with us tonight. Pastor, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. And I came in as you guys were getting set up, and we're also doing our church services on Zoom, so I'm pleased to see that we're not the only ones having issues. Everybody connected. Well, we want to thank you again on behalf of the pastors in Richmond for your consideration and your support in the National Day of Prayer over the years, and especially now because we are truly in historic times. We've never seen anything like this, and which all the more points us to saying that we need God's help, and your support and your backing on this means a lot to the public, and I hope that the public can take it to heart, and then we can reach out to somebody who has more control than we do.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the proclamation recognizing Thursday, May 7th, 2020 as the National Day of Prayer, and to invite members of the public to pray virtually beginning at 12:20 p.m.
Support.
Motion by, not by Emily. I wrote the wrong thing.
Okay.
Motion by Jamie, supported by Emily. Is there any discussion?
I just
So this
want
will be live, John?
Yes.
Will this?
Yes, actually I have, just like you get a email from me with all the links to the council meetings, I have that ready to go at the end of this meeting. Should this get approved, it will go out on our website live tonight at 8 o'clock with the invitations. And then I'll email out to the pastors council and we'll place it on like our rec Facebook page, those sorts of places, so that people know how to get to this meeting, and it will be live beginning at 12:20.
Very good, very good.
Again, sorry to add one more thing. I'll probably have the meeting open and people can log in probably around a half hour before it starts.
Very good. Okay, anything else, council?
just would just like to thank Pastor Egley for being so flexible and be willing to do a virtual prayer meeting. Be the first time ever.
Yeah, it is.
Lots of firsts. If there's nothing else, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Okay, we move on to miscellaneous matters from the city manager. John?
Along with the Zoom links for the day of prayer tonight, I'll be emailing out. I also have the email ready to go for the budget meeting on Wednesday. So you get those tonight. Again, just like tonight, I'll resend them again Wednesday just so that they're at the top of your email chain. And then we did receive notice today from Waste Management. They will not start picking up bulk or large items tomorrow, but they will the following week. So for Richmond, bulk pickup or large item pickup will begin on May 12th, Tuesday, May 12th.
Very good. It's good to hear. Okay, moving on. Council comments. John Warren?
I got one question, John. That radar trailer we bought, is it broke or it's not out?
No, we just haven't had it out yet after we had it on Main Street. So I'll be getting with the chief to get that out.
Okay.
Yep, sorry. With just COVID and different people working different shifts, have not had it out.
I've been working the area last couple of weeks, and I had a 60 and a 55 coming down Pound Road.
Okay. I know that's the next place we're taking it, so I'll have a talk with them tomorrow.
And I stopped, but I just want to, there's a lot of people out on the streets.
Okay.
Emily?
I just wanted to thank the civic organizations that have been coming forward, and especially the Lions Club. I know they put up those food pantries in several locations this past week. So it's just great to see the community working together and coming together to provide resources for those that are really struggling right now. So that's all.
Very good. Dennis?
Nothing, but I agree with everything that's been said.
Jamie?
Yeah, just to add to Emily and to thank everybody and the entire community coming along. And now even residents are putting food on like the little mobile food pantry too. And a lot of people are not getting their unemployment, and it's been a long time since they've worked, and I know that's how they're eating. So I just thank the community, thank again the service organizations, thank the fire department, the police department. They're doing a fantastic job, and just the community coming together and seeing neighbors come together and outside and just greeting each other like that we've never done before. So though this is a horrible situation, there are going to be good things that come out of this.
Absolutely. Rob?
Just two things. First, is it posted on our city website that the waste management is now resuming picking up yard waste bags? So I drove to the park over the weekend. Those two little dumpsters by the community center were overflowing with bags.
They got missed last week in getting picked up, so they were supposed to get picked up today. I think when we transitioned from having the yard waste dumpster there and we canceled that dumpster, they somehow canceled the pickup of the two small dumpsters as well. So that trash that you were seeing that was overflowing was actually a couple weeks old. So I did have an email conversation last Friday and today with Waste Management to get those picked up again. I didn't check this afternoon. I know prior to my email this morning, they had not been picked up, but I was promised they would be. So I'll be checking to make sure that gets handled. Like I said, I think somehow the collection of those got turned off in the computer, but I think it was a function of transitioning from when we put the yard waste dumpster in there and then stopped it. They somehow stopped all of them. Yep.
Okay, and then
and it is on our website that they have resumed yard waste collection.
Then when I seen them, I want to just make sure. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Representative Jeffrey Ark. He assisted me in an issue I had with the state, and everything got resolved, and he was really helpful. So if anybody needs help, be sure to lean on your local representative.
Very good. Michael?
Let's see. Yeah, I agree with everything that was said. I'm just wondering if, going back to the park and the dumpsters, Rob, are those mainly yard waste, do you think, or was it just?
I didn't get out and jump in them, Mikey, but what was heaping over the top was all the bags you would buy at like Ace or Family Farm and that.
Okay.
Mike, it was both. I did jump out and get in them, but no. One was trash. One was kind of a combination of yard waste and trash. I think that other one may have been a combination of somebody who hadn't seen that yard waste had officially started again, may have already taken their bags to the park and didn't know what to do with them. So we have notified the police that people shouldn't be putting yard waste in those dumpsters. So I know that went out to the officers last week.
They probably shouldn't be putting regular trash in there either, right? Isn't that
correct? Those are for the park use. Yep.
I was going to say we haven't had a lot of activity in the park other than people using it to walk or bike, or so I was kind of wondering why would 2 dumpsters would be full, but okay, makes sense. And then just one last thing. Thanks to administration for working with Project Graduation. I think we're doing whatever we can to help them out in this time of not having your normal graduation and get-togethers and all that sort of thing. So I know that's much appreciated by a lot of the seniors and their parents. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been brought up. A lot of things going on in our community. John, one of the things that we've got coming into town is the Gleaners.
Yes,
What was the date
and that
on
will
it?
be, I apologize for not having that down, but I can get it right here. It's a Wednesday. It's on our website, and it's Wednesday, May 13th. I believe it begins at 11:30. We will be turning the roadways in the park into one-ways to assist to get as many of the cars off of Beebe Street that day. So you will go into the park on Pool Drive and exit the park on Festival Drive. So that morning we'll be setting up the signage to accomplish that. Again, it's through Gleaners, and we have it on our website. So check that out.
And I believe each vehicle will get 35 pounds of fruit. They'll be having.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the concerns I have that I've already talked to John about is how were we going to handle the traffic, which he's addressed. For the second Wednesday, I have driven through New Haven, and the cars were backed all the way through the entire school system and back around New Haven Road to almost 26 Mile Road at 10:30 in the morning. What I would suggest, I haven't taken the time to talk to John about it again, but maybe we should contact our school. They would have about the same amount of area that they could park in. If this thing becomes as big as it is, our Beebe Street Park is not going to be able to handle the traffic over there.
Okay.
They're calling they'd like to see 150 to 300 cars, was it, that they would like to see?
Yes, yep.
And to be proactive, I just think maybe if you could contact the superintendent and ask if that's something that could be happening over there if we run into that problem. Because I can't imagine where we put all those cars
Sure.
when it comes to that. The other one, John, is the news that we got from the VFW for those that are planning for Memorial Day at the end of the month. Our VFW, given the virus, the color guard is going to meet at the cemetery on Memorial Day. It's going to be a very brief ceremony, and there will be no parade, no speaker that afternoon. They will be having their normal noon, I believe it's a flag raising.
Correct.
They do at noon back at the VFW. Whether or not that's open to the public this year, I highly doubt it. Were you shaking your head, John? No?
That's my understanding from talk. I'll have more information at the next meeting, but I believe they weren't even sure if the members would be invited due to the limit on 10 people per gathering.
Yeah. So sadly, that's where we're at right now. And I will go down on Memorial Day. They requested that we have somebody down there, I will go down there with them. But what I mentioned to John was the possibility when we did the memorial on Main Street, we had a lot of information that had been gathered, a lot of pictures of those that died in the wars, some stories on them also. And I asked if I could work with Jason, that we could possibly put some type of a video together to be ready for Memorial Day so that it can be out on Channel 6 and also on YouTube. And I believe that's what we're going to do in honor of those that did die in the wars. So that's happening, hopefully.
Yes.
I think that's it right now. I don't believe there's anything else. John, the perennial exchange, did we ever get an answer on whether or not the perennial exchange was going to happen?
We haven't. We're still researching kind of options for that and looking at other communities on how to handle that. Again, we're looking at the executive orders to see whether that would fall under, allowing, because potentially it'd be difficult to, if you open it up, you may get more than 10 people.
Right.
And it's not food related. And so we are looking into that, and we may postpone it a little bit. It was supposed to be mid-May, so we may push it back a little bit depending on some of the new executive orders that may be coming out. So we're researching that right now.
Okay. And so on the calendar, our next meeting is this Wednesday, 5:30 on Zoom to discuss the first part of our budget workshops at 5:30. So other than that, is there any other business of the city council this evening? Being not, motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion's been made and supported. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Motion does pass. Thanks for being with us tonight. Take care.